Welcome to the Berks Homes Podcast, the business of building homes. I am Katie. I'm here with my brother Ben, and today we are talking about adaptability. Adaptability in business, adaptability as employees, how the two tie together, and how we want that to operate in our business.
It could be almost guiding principle for some businesses, right? It's like a word that you could say is part of, one of the pillars of an organization.
Yeah.
But it's also, there are some core values or guiding principles that aren't necessary to every business because It's just like who you are. But I would say if you're going to survive, because sometimes business is more about survival than success,
Depending on the season, absolutely. You have to have both skills.
Right. But there are organizations or industries that, like ours, that are always subject to wild swings.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That when it's really good, it's really good. When it's really bad, it's really bad.
Yes.
You are in the pack swinging with those, or you're an outlier. And there's always like the extremes. Very few home builders did well when the Great Recession hit.
Except those that could adapt.
Yeah, but very few.
Yeah,
very
fair enough.
few.
There's a lot of consolidation there.
Different industries, they're not subjected to that kind of swing in the market. But my point in saying that is because when you are adaptable as a business and you have that mindset, you can always pivot on a dime. And, in our business, it is difficult to pivot on a dime because there's always a lag effect with things.
Yeah, I think that's the reason this is even coming up is, and why we want to talk about it, is the lift it takes to adapt.
The bigger you get.
The bigger you get, and the nature of our industry is what you sell today doesn't hit the end for another 6 months.
Right.
So the lead and lag time is so long for everything.
You're always working through the bad stuff.
Every time you come up with an idea, just pretend you didn't for the next 6 months.
Yes. Yeah. And you don't know if it was good or bad for a while.
Right.
But that's why it's important to have that mindset. So what does adaptability mean to you? Like overall?
Yeah, well,
from the business standpoint.
From the business standpoint and kind of what we were just talking about, because of how long it takes for us to be able to adapt, I think there are a few ways that we can, a few maneuvers you can make to be better at it. One of those is really using your information, your metrics, your data, so that you have leading indicators of how they're the things that's telling you, hey, maybe you need to do something about this now, so you're not stuck with it for the rest of your life. What it feels like.
What's that thing called? Like the earthquake,
the pre-earthquake.
The pre-earthquake thingy, the needles.
Tremors? I don't know.
Yeah, that thing. You know what I mean.
Shock.
That thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So it's having information and knowing what you're looking at and how to interpret it is huge.
Being predictable. Knowing what's going to happen when those metrics go south.
Yes.
Or whatever.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that you have to look at every number and know what every single thing means, because it's not all of them are predictive. It's just having your top few things. For us, we pay attention to the number of lots that we have, the number of people coming to our website that convert to appointments. It's just having those couple of things that you're just tracking whatever rhythm that you need to, but in those situations weekly, and just making sure that you're giving yourself enough time to make moves.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that when I'm looking at our situation now in the market, right? We've talked about this before. Super long time since it's been down. So where we just keep floating in this up trend, never going flat necessarily. It's always up for a decade.
Yeah. Longer
And
than that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I mean, in terms of like real growth, it's
Yeah.
been a long time. And so is it possible that the industry has become a little bit immune to or lazy to
Oh,
being predictive?
yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's the beauty of what I'm talking about
Yeah.
is not getting immune
Right.
and making sure you're paying attention and doing things quickly when you get that information. So what's your version of lazy industry?
Well, I mean, it's just because of the peaks and valleys and the distance between the lowest low and the highest high,
Mm-hmm.
and I can only speak about our business, I mean, our industry, it's so dramatic that when things go well for an extended period of time, there is a tremendous amount of money flying around.
Oh.
So, and it's not like the home builders, I'm talking about everybody involved,
Mm-hmm.
everybody. You know, the builders, the developers, the real estate agents, the trades, the vendors, everybody involved is subject to that wild swing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's something that's always cyclical. It comes around. You start seeing the boats, you know, people buying boats. You see them buying, you know, helicopters and private jets even, and all that stuff. And nobody ever truly learns from the previous one on one hand, but I'm just talking about the price that you pay for land, really.
Yeah.
You know, there is a pie that you cannot change necessarily in terms of the cost of everything as it pertains to the end result, which is the value of a home in an area.
Yeah.
You know, the pie actually gets bigger during, you know, the market going up. However, when you start thinking about the ramifications long term over a 5-year period, the first 2 years are great. The middle year is flat and the last 2 years are bad. If you're like in a project in that timeline and you have that horizon, then the pie gets smaller and the percentages change dramatically. And what worked once will absolutely not work later.
So when you're thinking of not paying attention and maybe getting a little lazy, it's not fact checking what will happen if the market shifts.
Yeah.
Just making an assumption that if it's good now, it'll be good through the life of this purchase.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of ways that you can try to mitigate that by structuring a deal a certain way and everything. However, you can only assess each project in the current time period because that's what your competitors do or everybody looking at a project does.
Yeah.
Because the moment you know, try to predict a downturn, you're not, you know, going to get the project because you're going to pay too little. The moment you're overly zealous, you put yourself in a really bad position with the prospect of it going down at the tail end, right? So everything's gone up so significantly that there is nowhere to go in this business with these huge dollar amounts flying around. That's where we like to think that we're really good, is that pivot on a dime when we could take advantage of possibly somebody else's misfortune in the value, you know, midstream, or if we have to adjust to something that we committed to when the market's going down, that we'll figure it out with different product.
Yeah.
Hopefully a lean and mean approach to keep our internal costs down. So when we sell homes at a lower value, it's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and that's the true. I mean, you're if you're starting from the beginning, like you're saying with the land purchase, the end game is to perfectly predict your pricing and timing, which is impossible.
It's impossible.
You do your best, and the key though is to not over leverage yourself. So.
Yeah. 1 is okay. 2 is a problem. 3 is a just massive problem. Right. But, you know, I'm just saying on scale, if we have 40 communities, you know, you want to limit those bad ones to 2
Right,
or
exactly.
3 or something.
And then the nice thing is you have levers even within good purchases
Yep.
to pull if there are, less than excellent market conditions. You can start with, like you said, your product lineup, which, I think that Dad does a fantastic job with. He's always ahead of it. Same thing with our specifications, what we include, what we offer. All of those things are different levers that you can pull in adapting when it comes to product and price. What other levers do you have in your mind?
Well, there's always, better deals to be cut with suppliers, vendors, that kind of thing.
For volume, especially.
Yeah, where when the
if there's
market
work.
shifts and you establish yourself through good business practices as adaptable, and you're doing business, at a greater pace than most, everyone flocks, right? In terms of trades, suppliers, vendors, all that stuff. So you're able to dictate some of those decisions a lot more than when everything's great and everybody else has the opportunity to choose at their will. Like you're not in the driver's seat when the market's hot. When it's down and you have everything together, then you have a lot more opportunity to, make deals.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because the name of the game in our business at the end of the day is everybody involved just wants to keep going.
Yeah. Just get through that.
Yeah, that's what happens in the down turns.
That's the survivor part.
Everybody kind of puts a different hat on and because most have been through it.
Yeah.
And so they're like, okay, this is just the new season. So, for a small trader vendor, they might say, I'm trying to keep the doors open, at worst. At best, I'm just trying to make a little bit of money.
Yeah.
And hang on and make myself available when it goes back up as somebody that was very reliable through this time.
Sure, exactly.
Everybody pitches in.
Yeah.
Kind of comes back to the middle, and you really truly see the stars who shine through that.
That's interesting because it goes both ways. We're just leaning heavily onto adaptability if the market goes down, but the same thing is, right in front of us right now when the market is steady or it, getting better. It's what are we doing on this side now to prove that we're a good partner in a situation like this.
Yeah.
So that when it goes both ways.
If I could say what we do well as a company, at least the general mindset is that we never feel like we've arrived. We never feel like we are ever at that point where we call the shots. And because we think we can get better.
Yeah.
And that mentality goes into the adaptability a little bit, where we're always trying to improve and make the experience better for everybody, and also commit more and more resources and time to helping all the parties involved. When it's good, that's when you really gain a lot of movement, a lot of devotion from everybody involved, all the parties, including employees. And so that kind of goes to the next piece of the topic with employees. How do you see that as something that if you're talking to our coworkers, how do you push that mindset all the way out?
Yeah, that's a great question because I think it's a little bit of a balance because we are always trying to push people in a good way to perform and put out, accomplish things and get things done. And then we change them. And so it's a little difficult sometimes to maintain enthusiasm for accomplishments if you think that it might change afterwards. So it's not even, I guess I shouldn't say change. It isn't as much change as it is what
Improve.
worked. What worked 6 months ago might not work now. So we do have to adapt and adjust and put another round of effort into a different process, a different whatever. And so I think the mindset that we all have to have is we are putting our efforts towards what's good for the organization now and in the future.
Right. Yeah.
So again, if you're looking back all the time and say, well, that used to work, or I did all of this for what? Well, it was great at the time, and that's what we needed.
Yeah.
But now we might need this, or later we might need that. So it just understanding that the effort is fantastic for the time, and a different way of executing might be needed tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I think I don't know if that's our business or the industry or both. It's probably both. But I mean, to work here, you have to be resilient. I mean, you just have to, and I don't have experience in other organizations.
Right.
So my viewpoint is limited. I'm accepting
we are
that.
Just talking in a vacuum right now.
But the constant theme is always evolving.
Yeah.
It just is, and the funny part is our industry's so backwards still. It's still stuck in decades ago themes, technology, methods of construction, ways of communication. We are always behind.
Yeah.
It could be, I don't even know what the amount of years would be. Let's just say it's always a decade. We're always a decade behind.
We're like, no offense to anyone, but like Midwest fashion,
Yeah. It's the coast
right.
and then meets in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
We're the Midwest of industries.
Yeah, which is interesting. I mean, there's obvious positives to that, because if you innovate, like you can move forward big time.
Yeah.
If you're ahead of that, if you really try to stay ahead of that and stay up on everything, you can really give yourself an advantage. But in terms of being adaptable, that's just what you have to do, because this thing is good right now. And, I mean, we see it in the home trends too.
Well,
right?
That's what I'm thinking of is my first exposure to this. One of the first projects that I took on when I started here full time was documenting, I don't even remember what they were called, maybe like the supply matrix or something like that, or product matrix, I think. So it's basically detailing our products, the number, the product number, the description, basically like an Amazon cut sheet of everything that we offer.
Right.
And I spent so much time and effort, and it was very hard to track down because, this plumber was giving us this faucet and that was, there was a lot of work. And then when I presented it, half of it had changed by the time I had gotten it documented.
Good. That's good, at least, because
right.
I'm sure some of it was hideous.
Well, this was during like my first summer.
Yeah.
Like 3 months.
Yeah.
So I went through the entire gallery and got all this stuff done, and I was upset about it.
Because that was hard work.
And I'm going to have to go back and redo this. I don't know why that was my instinct, but I very often remember that now when I have to break it to someone.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know what it's like on the other side of the table.
Absolutely. And how I got out of that mindset, I very often try to bring that to the conversation too, is, this is anything that we are enhancing or, moving to a different way of doing it, it's because we want to make it better for someone. Yeah. It's usually for a person, which helps too, because you can tie it to, that's a good reason. Yeah. It's going to be better for the customer, maybe your fellow employees, maybe a partner, something like that. But 9 times out of 10, or I hope all of the time, we're not changing things just to change them. It's for an improvement.
Yeah, I think that due to the amount of evolutions and changes that happen because they need to happen in our industry, we don't we don't ask for changes just to change.
Yeah.
On top of the change.
Right.
They happen because we have to. And we don't like to just do it because it is exhausting.
It really
it's exhausting to lead that. I know
Yeah.
it's exhausting to do it,
Mm-hmm.
to execute on it,
Yeah.
but it's exhausting to lead it too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it's also, I always think of, like, what does it mean to work here? Like, what are the requirements, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are the mindsets that you want, and what makes it successful for people? And I kind of think I'm going to generalize, it's kind of easy, right? It's like, focus on your part in the goal,
Mm-hmm.
right? What are we trying to accomplish, like high level, and treat it and focus on that really hard, but don't focus on it so hard that we step on people either,
Mm-hmm.
right? So those two things, if you focus on those two things, like, I'm going to work really hard towards the goal and try my very best to achieve it, and don't step on somebody's neck in the
Yeah.
meantime,
Mm-hmm.
you win.
I mean, this is kind of annoying to just always bring things back to the core values, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. We're saying, don't get too attached to your own achievements. We're going to celebrate team wins here.
Mhm.
And usually that means letting go of something that maybe was yours before because we got to change it.
Right.
Helping,
Mhm.
same thing.
Yeah.
Being aware, not stepping on someone's neck, but
Right.
still driving.
Right.
It's just,
It's a
that's
big
why we
cycle.
pick those four things,
Right.
because in combination, it covers everything that we want out
Mhm.
of this whole team.
Right. Right.
You know,
And as you grow, which we've grown,
mhm.
I mean, the whole industry's grown, but we've grown significantly too. As you implement those changes and, new ways of thinking,
Mhm.
like, there's a stretch at each point, right?
Yeah.
Like, for people,
Mhm.
they have to stretch personally,
Yeah.
and sometimes work outside of their skill set even, maybe, or their knowledge
Yes.
base,
Yeah.
learn the new
Mhm.
thing,
Mhm.
and then, gain some proficiency in the new thing,
Mhm.
knowing possibly it might be altered,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And there is a very specific mindset around that you absolutely just have to acquire,
Mhm.
and you have to have, I think that's what we share in our mentality of, get over it.
Yeah.
Like, the resiliency has to be baked in,
Mhm.
and getting attached to anything that is going to make it really difficult to.
Yes.
And I kind of, like, keep saying, I interchange industry with our company, because
Mhm.
I think they're both, like, it's just this business
Yeah.
that we work in. You have to have that mindset,
Mhm.
and it's a new day every day.
Yeah. And what's the other part that we usually, like, if I'm introducing a new anything to my team, I very often move people around.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's just something that happens. In anyone that works with me knows that hold things lightly.
Yeah. And why is that? I mean, I know why, but tell us why.
Unless I've worked with someone for years, it takes me a little bit and a couple iterations for us to collaborate and figure out what's the highest and best use of their talents.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't mind testing.
Yeah.
I think that it's really important for every person to dabble in different parts of their department or their skill set to find out really where they should land and what they should focus on and get excellent at.
Yeah.
And so starting out kind of having a generalist look at things and doing a lot, and then kind of taking pieces away and focusing more and more into where they're the best.
Yeah.
That's really my methodology.
Well,
I
think it's,
tell HR. I
Yeah.
don't think that might not be. Sorry,
Yeah.
Lynn.
I think that's great though, because my experience with people is the vast majority, they really enjoy expanding their horizons.
Yeah, and
generally, if you come to work here being part of a company that one of their guiding principles is driven,
yeah,
I would expect, since you made it through the interview and you were hired, that's part of who you are, that you're not going to put limits on your capabilities.
exactly.
So, as somebody who has seen incredible changes in people's careers that I've worked with directly,
Yeah.
I would never want to limit what somebody either wants to do or can do.
Yeah.
And I think that the vast majority of people know themselves, or they're going to be able to tell you
Yes.
better than you can see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, if somebody really is interested in, let's just say there's a job posting
Mm-hmm.
internally for whatever, some department, and it's not yours, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of your people are interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, if this person that's interested in this other job and I'm their manager,
Mm-hmm.
I really want that to work if possible.
Well,
if they're interested, if that's like,
if they go out on a limb
yeah,
to bring it up that this is something that they're interested in, the only response is, how can I help you?
yeah. Well, first of all, let me back it up 1 second. Being the introspective person that I am,
Uh-huh.
I always want to make sure first and foremost they don't want that job
Because of me.
because I'm
Yeah.
a bad manager.
Okay, great caveat.
Right.
Let's start with ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
wait,
I can't help but think that as my main
So that's
first
the first
thing.
question to ask, though.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. How can I help? And can I ask you why?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
It's never happened to me where at least they verbalized it, that they wanted to go to a different department because I wasn't giving them enough fulfillment.
Right.
But I still think it.
Well, it
because,
yeah.
you know,
You have
I
to
just
check yourself.
Yeah. I mean,
Who do you think you are?
Yeah. I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
That's a little shout out for our new tool.
What, 15.5?
Yeah.
My favorite thing of the week.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with it.
Well, a little enhancement.
Mm-hmm. Oh, then, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good way to say
I
it.
mean, you know, we're just trying to get better. You know,
Truly, it is a big change for people.
It is a big change, and I think that I'm just horribly optimistic about everything. You know, like I can get hyped about anything, but the basic concept of staying very connected to your people in today's world where, you know, there's an app for this tool and it's online as well. And you can just always stay close.
Yeah, it's a performance management tool, but it's based around positive psychology.
Yeah.
So the idea is you're providing the clear communication of what success looks like for every employee, and then getting to double down on it and help them and have a good communication. I mean,
yeah,
it's fantastic.
So fast forward a year from now, everybody's doing their check-ins all the time.
Yeah.
You know, basically getting a vibe check and having a home base for deliberate conversation.
Yeah.
I think, you know, in a year, some of those conversations that may not have happened will happen.
Fair enough.
Like, Katie, I'm in sales and marketing, and I really like my job. But you know what I really have always dreamed of? I actually want to be a superintendent.
Right.
Wild.
Yeah.
Right?
That'd be awesome.
I know. Well, again, if there is a female in this organization listening to this, and you have ever been interested in construction,
Yeah, we haven't done that plug for a while.
I have a pickup for you in the parking lot, ready to go. You could kill it. So
that's awesome.
I think that simple tools like that, again, we're trying to accomplish two things, or multiple things, but two main things is give our people the best opportunity to succeed. That might be moving seats in the organization.
Yeah.
And also for us as business owners, trying to, you know, keep them driven, pushed, you know, always focused on the goals, accomplishing as much as possible. And then it's just a rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
That's good for employees. That's good for business owners. It's good for employees, you know. So going back and forth with that, but that's a change.
Yeah. And
something new to learn.
I think when we started talking about this, with the different changes and roles and shifting with people, the one thing that I will reinforce, and I wish I could just gift to everyone, if I could just have everyone feel in their soul when we start talking about change is that everything's going to be okay.
Mm.
You're
Yeah.
not losing a spot.
Mm-hmm.
You're important. Like, that's the first reaction that I get, even with people that I've worked with for 20 years.
Yeah.
Go, okay, so what does that mean? What am I going to do?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if you're giving this away to this person and you're giving that, and even after doing this for so long with people, I'm pretty good at it now.
Yeah.
I usually start with that.
Yeah. Right.
Instead of saying what we're going to take away first, I start with what we're adding. But I have an endless amount of things that I could add to anyone's job right now.
Yeah.
If you're bored,
Yeah. Oh,
if you want a challenge,
come on down.
I have pages of things
Ideas.
that I would love to see happen in every role in the organization.
Yeah.
That I'm not piling on right now because we are very driven and busy and life is good.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the one thing I wish everyone would understand, is that our expectations of what we want to accomplish is huge.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an endless opportunity to grab more and do more and evolve.
Right.
Here.
Right. Well, and we're drawn to those that are proactive. You know what I mean?
Step 2. That's
Yeah.
perfect. Because if you work yourself out of things that you don't excel at
Or like yeah.
whatever, then, and you come and say, I want more. I've given this. I've done that. I think this person can do this.
Yeah.
All day.
All day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Come on down.
Yeah.
Having the confidence to have a voice. Now, I understand that's difficult because when we hire new people, we do not fully understand what their experience was like in their previous career. You know,
Right.
Your children are raised and they become adults that are product of their past, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has their own unique experiences. And, you know, how many times have we heard when somebody comes here, they're like, people are just so nice, you know? And we're just like, where did you work?
Right.
You know?
That's so sad.
Yeah, that stinks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, immediately you have to remember that if they came from a different culture that was a lot, more, harsh and
or passive aggressive.
Yeah, that can be even worse.
Mm-hmm.
If you come from a culture that's like very direct and harsh, that's one thing. At least you kind of know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Passive aggressive, probably the worst.
Oh yeah, that's so fear-inducing.
Yeah.
I think that's the one that the damage that we have to navigate more than anything else.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So my point is, or, like in a relationship, when you get married, you don't know what you don't know about your partner because of their previous life experience.
And the assumptions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have these assumptions.
I thought you were taking out the trash.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I thought we didn't talk about that, I guess. Oh, you want kids? You might not have that. You might not actually be able to establish that trust for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Where you have what you would consider to be a good relationship with a coworker or somebody that reports to you, and it takes them 12 months because of their previous job experience. It takes them 12 months to say something to you about like what they really love.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, So everybody's at a different stage in that whole, cycle. But I just love the idea of, and we can't talk about it enough, almost, this mentality of, we actually talked about it a little bit at our FBA talk, where our idea of a family business is the business is the most important.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you have that concept. So let's just talk about that for a second. Every decision we make is for the business, right? But what is the business? It's made up of a bunch of people too.
Yeah.
So every decision that's made is for the health, the long-term health of the business.
Yeah.
And keeping this thing as a protector of our livelihoods.
Yeah.
When I say our, I mean everybody. Right? And so when we make decisions that would create changes, right? I'm not just talking about personnel. I'm talking about anything that, we have to do something different and it causes a lot of extra work or backtracking. There's nothing more deflating than doing something and then having to redo it. It's like,
exactly.
I created a PowerPoint and I didn't hit save. I want to throw stuff when something like that happens.
I think I have.
I have, yeah. Like, I have those big windows in my office and I just think about... Anyway, when something like that happens, it's really helpful. Instead of... Sometimes I just try to think, what's my mindset? Throw out the business owner aspect. Just a coworker, just an employee. If I'm just using that lens, can I get behind this business decision because this is really good for the general public, all of us,
Yeah.
And truly, that's what it is, know?
The key to that, the most important piece is, and maybe this is adaptability and leadership, we missed talking about that for a second, is making sure that people understand the return.
Yeah.
If you understand why we're doing this, it is so much easier to get behind it. And the really important piece for leadership in general is that communication, making sure that everybody understands the impact and how the efforts that they're going to put into this change is helping everyone.
Curated communication. When I say I mean
thoughtful too. Yeah.
Pick a couple people in your mind that you've worked with here forever, right? You might be able to say 5 words.
And they get it.
There's certain individuals, because they've been through it all with us, that they just say less.
Yeah.
Because there's this, ridiculous level of trust that at the end, they trust us, right? And then there's, people who have been here a long time, but they're naturally skeptical, right? They're gonna get behind it because they trust us, but they need a little verification, right? And then you have this whole group of people as well who they want to trust, of course, but they haven't been here long enough to blindly trust, right? So you have curated,
Well, you have to know your audience.
That's what I mean, awareness.
Yeah, exactly. And now we're just bringing in adaptability and leadership. That's adapting to what it's going to take to make the entire thing happen is, like you're saying, curating a message, but also tying together the impact for other people too. So you're saying, this is why we're doing it. Overall, this is how it impacts you, and this is how it ties in to the next person in line or before you or something like that. It's you don't have to get to that level for every change that we do or any program or anything like that. But if you're thinking through those steps before you have a conversation, you're going to cover everything that needs to happen.
Right. And let's talk about the leadership aspect real quick. I think it's really critical to always, that introspection is so important to me. If I could identify one quality that I want everybody around me to, this doesn't sound very humble.
You're curating your communication.
Yes. It's who I am, right? And I feel like...
I'll keep you humble. Just go ahead and say it.
It served me well, that perspective, and I appreciate when others try that on for size.
Which part?
The introspection of how they're leading.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's that quote that I always say, assume you're wrong. The goal is to be less wrong, right? So whenever you're navigating change, you have to always be open-minded and say, we're going to go in this direction, but I got to hold it loosely.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's one thing, I've been pondering this a lot as I have a lot more direct reports now. And how do I, lead with confidence and brevity, because of that curated communication.
Yeah.
I can't take the time to explain the same thing to 40 different people and have the same conversations. You need to delegate some of it to those of us in the organization that can kind of carry the mail and extend the trust to a larger group. But one thing that I've been thinking about a lot in terms of leadership is when you're faced with this task of, let's go with adaptability, navigating changes constantly. Nobody likes somebody that's insanely optimistic and nothing's an issue, right? Because let's face it, there's always issues.
Right.
There's always something to deal with, and sometimes they're serious. So you need to have seriousness as well. Like, I'm taking this seriously.
Yeah.
I
know
get
it will
past
work
it.
out,
Yeah.
but I
But
understand.
I hear you, and I'm not going to minimize it. However, how do you create that culture of calm in the storm, right?
Yeah.
Because at some point, as an organization, you can only be really successful if you have that filtered all the way out to everybody. And right now I'm trying my best to navigate some changes that we're working through and be confident. Like, I'm a hub, right?
Yeah, you can adapt to anything.
I can adapt. The balance of being optimistic at the end of the day, but also making sure that you're giving enough time and thought to issues that come up is sometimes a struggle for me. You know what I mean?
I think being aware of it, though, and not pursuing things that are impossible.
Yeah.
So if you're realistic about what you can achieve and know that it will at least get us the next step forward, and then take the time to understand the impact of it.
Yeah.
I think it's the speed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Might really just be the speed of change and the really thinking through what the saturation point is for your team.
Yeah.
And who you're working with, the players.
Right. Yeah.
Because we almost I think we have a great group of people that can adapt really well.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
there is a breaking point. And so just being super cautious about that saturation point.
Yeah.
I mean, could you put a mathematical formula to it? Absolutely not. That's where, leadership, emotional intelligence comes in. But as long as we take our time, then it'll be really hard to hit that if it's methodical.
Yeah. Well, and there's seasons, right? Gathering your group and it's just nothing more than I need you.
Yeah.
I need you to roll up your sleeves for a while and help me get over this hurdle.
Well, we are in that season right now in an effort to simplify, in an effort to even slow down. It's created ripples.
Yeah.
It's
created, even slowing down has its own challenges.
Because it's a change.
Right.
Because it's a deviation from the initial plan.
Right.
So that, even me saying it's the pace, well, slowing down creates a little bit of a ripple effect.
It creates questions. So are we supposed to do it this way now?
Right.
Or this way?
Right.
Again, everybody has a different way of interpreting things. Some people can just have an intuitive way of hearing information and understanding the nuance behind it. Most likely because you've had a long-standing working relationship. Those people around you that you've worked with a long time.
If you've been through the cycle a couple of times.
They can hear less and understand more. And some people, like I said, they need extreme clarity.
But I think that's part of what you do when you're taking your time is thinking through those questions that
in advance
that you'll be asked, so that so you have an answer and you're fact checking yourself to make sure you're on the right path. Because that's how you kind of get away from having blind optimism.
Right.
Is having some of those checks and balances, even asking the people up front who are going to be pushing back, running it by them first.
Usually
That's my
a good
go-to.
filter. Yeah.
Is who's going to have the biggest problem with this? Let's start there, and then all the answers will come from that.
Or just your biggest
Did I say problem?
skeptic. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Because they're
I
my
like to
favorite people, by the way, because I'm
you don't
incapable
have the filter.
of thinking that like that.
Yeah, you're just like, yes. I'm so hyped. There can't be any downside to this. You know.
I guess I should go talk to someone smarter than me.
Well, then you just saddle up to Dad's office for a while if you want the guy who is hopelessly optimistic and eternally jaded at the same time.
Yeah, he will shoot holes in anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting dichotomy that he has. And I think that we can waffle back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Very fatalistic one day and just in the ocean without a life raft and like, it's going to be great. You know,
somehow
it all works out.
Could be the best or worst.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's always the best.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we didn't talk about, I think we wrapped up that conversation.
Yeah. Oh,
good.
You've moved on. Okay, where are we going now?
Well, we didn't talk about our normal segment. Who has the shout out this week?
You do.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have one off the top of my head because
fantastic.
I gave a 15-5 high five this morning to Dalton.
Oh, yeah.
Our network engineer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really bad at titles. I don't know what people's titles are.
I know. Sorry, everyone.
He's way more than a title. He's in IT. He does techie things. He's just super helpful.
Yeah.
Really smart guy and fun to hang out with too. He's always kind of like solving like the large issues, you know? Mm-hmm. Like basically every day when I'm at my computer and it's working, it's tangentially because of him somewhere. I feel like, you know, it's like in a server room, like hitting the server with a hammer or something.
Very technical.
Yeah. So they did some sort of big server upgrade last week.
Yes.
Went off without a hitch for the most part. Apparently we were down while our company was at Knoebels for the day.
Wow.
And great timing, you know?
Yeah.
But I think I know Zach was here as well, and I don't know if Dalton was here or
no, he was
at Knoebels.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, either way, they, you know, it didn't affect anything.
Yeah.
So my idea of a great IT team is that you're just always able to work.
That's exactly right. That's their mission.
Yeah.
They do a fantastic job.
So
a really good implementation.
He's my shout out because he's great and
he's helped us out with a couple pretty big projects this week.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's also
great job with that, by the way.
Yes. Doing a great job with getting our new training center up and going.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of high tech stuff, you know, in the big meeting room with cameras and video and, you know, microphones and all that stuff. And he's been very critical to making that happen.
Yeah.
So
that's fantastic. I love that.
We have a big meeting in a couple weeks out there to do that we're all very excited about.
Yes.
We're doing our 5-year land planning meeting with all the regions, and that's always an exciting, it's just kind of like you just want to get some popcorn and see what, you know, what the opportunities are.
Yeah.
Because that really dictates, you know, what our business looks like over the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And so we are anxiously awaiting what the guys have in store for us. And it will be the first time we use the room in, you know, a larger capacity.
Yeah.
So that's a long shout out, but
great shout out.
But I really like Dalton.
We can talk about that here.
Yeah.
So the first superintendent or foreman Dad ever had for his framing company?
Yes.
His name was Dalton Beal.
Yes.
Okay? That's how you said it.
Yes.
Not Dalton. It was Dalton. Like
the only one ever.
Daryl Dalton.
No.
Dalton.
Darren
Dalton. I get it. That's how I remember it. Now,
that's how you're supposed to remember our Dalton.
I told you I was going to do it.
Dalton.
I told Daryl Dalton.
Yes, Darren.
I know. Cut this out.
So anyway, Dalton Beal
I still
Actually, and his daughter, I don't know
Mhm.
if Kelly listens to this, but she is one of the real estate agents locally that does a great job, one of the biggest producers in the county, and has done a number of deals with
transactions
us.
with us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ironically.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was in Dad's wedding too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's why we
So
trip up the name.
Dalton at Berks Homes.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize if I call you Dalton.
We've done it before and we'll do it again.
Yes. So what's your challenge?
Got a challenge for the week. Yes, I would like to kind of go off of the theme of adaptability. And I just want everyone to kind of, like you're saying, be a little introspective
Mm-hmm.
and figure out where you land on the adaptability scale. Just think through it.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of look at what your natural tendency is when it comes to changes, improvements, however you want to say it. What's your gut reaction to it? And how do you need to maybe adapt to adaptability?
So let's just stick real basic. If you do like a score of 0 to 10 or 1 to 10,
Yeah.
nobody's a 0. What can you do to go to the next number up?
Well, I'm not rating it like that.
Okay.
I'm saying basically if you think about, okay, I'm changing the way I do this thing that I've done every day.
Mm-hmm.
My automatic reaction is great.
Mm-hmm.
I love change.
Sure.
I want to do things differently every day for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Okay. I got to look inward
Variety.
and go, now how would that impact people?
Right.
And say, okay, maybe not change everything every day.
Right.
Calm down.
Yeah.
And don't mess with people's lives like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or how do I, if I'm the one instigating, how do I understand the impact? That's what I'm saying. Or if you just want to, walk out the door, if you think about having to change things, how can you be a little more open and understand the positives of it?
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's what I'm saying. Not on a 1 to 10, more like which way do I have to
shift,
kind of meet in the middle a little bit more.
Right. Okay, I got you. Yeah. So if you're like a 10 and you just love change, how does that look? What can you possibly introduce to counterbalance that a little bit?
Yeah, people maybe you need a little more stability.
Yeah. And especially if you're a leader and you are the tip of the spear on having the ability to make changes.
Yeah.
And you love it. Do an assessment and say, I love change. Am I killing my people all the time because I love change?
Yeah.
It's good.
That's the challenge.
I like that. I'll come up with some sort of bar graph or something.
Probably the last thing that you'll ever do?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not on my list.
Until next week, everyone.
All right.
Have a good one.
Yep. Happy 4th.